What's up, everybody? It's swing-trades-with-rell. SoFi earnings is coming up, so we all know what that means. And I got a $3.13 billion thought on the matter. Let's get into it. Are we wasting our time with SoFi? Will it ever rally? These are the questions that keep popping up. I get it in my DMs. I see it on Twitter. I see it on IG. I see a lot of retail investors kind of losing faith in the company, but their mindset is focused on the stock price and not the company itself, right? And we have to separate the stock sometimes from the company, especially when the company is doing numbers, and they've been doing it consistently quarter after quarter. Right? So I say that to say, with all of the fear, uncertainty, and doubt with the retail investors, the institutions are doing something entirely different. They're not fearful, right? They're actually buying into the company. But the headlines are showing you the ones that are exiting, right? The ones that are selling out. They're not showing you the big dogs that's adding to their position. Now, I know a lot of this information in my head, but so I don't get too random with my words, I'm gonna revert to my notes, but I'm gonna pop as much information as I've researched on the screen. All right. So what am I talking about? In the last 3 months, right? Several large institutions added to their position. For example, Citadel started with 621,000 shares of SoFi in Q3 of 2023, right? They've since Q1 2024 have added 16 million shares of SoFi. Okay. Renaissance Technologies, it's a hedge fund company. They went from 224,000 shares of SoFi in Q4 of 2023 to 5.28 million shares in Q1 of 2024. That's essentially when SoFi announced profitability, right? ARK Invest, another one, started with 1.97 million shares of SoFi Q4 of 2023 to now adding 16.2 million shares of SoFi in Q1 of 2024. Everybody. Institutions are currently holding 436,011,870 shares of SoFi, which equates to about $2.9 billion invested into the company, right? Nobody just puts that amount of money into something that they're not confident in, right? Nobody can tell the future. These institutions can't, these analysts can't, they don't really know what's going on behind closed doors necessarily with SoFi. You know, SoFi can shut down Galileo, for example, and the stock would tank, right? We don't really know what the numbers are, but everything else, all the other metrics that SoFi is sharing with us says that we're pretty bullish overall in the scheme of things, right? So $2.9 billion currently owned by institutions, which is 42% of the $6.8 billion market cap of SoFi, right? Now, I wanted to also look at the insiders and throw them in a mix. And the insiders currently are holding 34 million shares of SoFi, right? Adding their shares to the institutions, because why not, right? Just makes sense to me. That's a total of $3.13 billion in SoFi, in the company invested, right? This makes up 46% of the overall market cap, right? So what does that tell you? Well, the problem right now is that us retail investors, we're holding pretty strong. Now, I am seeing some people selling off, but individually, those shares it's not a lot, right? Some of us own hundreds of thousands of shares of SoFi, but ultimately, the institutions are not the majority. 46%, right? Versus 54%. So they are doing everything that they can to drag this out. What do they have that we or most or some of us don't have, right? Time. And we have time, but we're impatient naturally. It's by nature, we're impatient. We want our money now, right? We want to see a stock go from red to green overnight. But institutions, they got the bag. They can sit on this thing for several years and be just fine, right? Now, you've seen a couple institutions back out or sell a couple shares or whatnot. But ultimately, what are they doing? They're putting their money to work because the craze right now is AI. It makes total sense. If I was smart, right? And if I had invested the amount of money that I have in SoFi in, let's say, NVIDIA back then, man, I'd be looking pretty dang good right now, right? But hindsight's 2020. Options contracts. We have a crazy amount of option open interest on two particular dates, very near term, July 19th and August 16th. Okay, take a look at those expiration dates, and then tell me what you see. Okay, call options for open interest right now before earnings is 7/19 July, right? Open interest for July 19th expiration is 348,130. That's total, right? Of open interest for that particular date for a range of strike prices, right? For call options, 263,250 is call options, right? 84,800 is put options. So people are betting, 75% of the people are betting that SoFi is going to rally before earnings, right? So leading into earnings, there's a lot of money on the line, right? Weeks before earnings actually hit. That's huge. Now, here's the kicker. What happens to SoFi every earnings, essentially, right? Earnings comes up. SoFi starts to rally. Starts off slow, then all of a sudden you see a couple pops and it's retaking some previous levels of resistance, right? Now becoming supports. Then earnings hits. SoFi jumps up, right? It goes up $2, $3. This time I'm predicting it's probably going to go up 10 to 12, right? That'll be the range if all the news is bullish, right? For the most part. Hopefully it continues. I can't tell the future. I'm just showing you what I see and then, you know, the history and the pattern of SoFi. So that's what happens before earnings every time. And then at earnings. What happens after earnings for SoFi? The stock pulls back. It starts to show some weakness and then everybody is taking profit. And then next thing you know, SoFi is right back where we started, at 8 or above 6, you know, that range. And the cycle continues. That being said, on 8/16, open interest for that date is 271,640. Okay, that's huge. That's still huge, right? 133,320 of that is call options. 138,320 are put options. Call options makes up 49% of that open interest. Puts make up 51%. We're at a stalemate. Nobody knows what's going to happen with SoFi. SoFi has been very, very quiet in this quarter, in my opinion, right? Typically, they're on Twitter and they are boasting almost everything. But they're very, very quiet. And I think that's for good reason. They got a lot of publicity from the NBA deal that they made up till this point, right? So me personally, I think SoFi is going to be on a rocket. I will likely be dollar cost averaging into SoFi, right? Up to the earnings. And then I would be cutting some of my position if we see a rally, right? I will share the technicals with you right after this. The technicals I'm not going to get into. I apologize. I've done the technicals on several videos. The technicals for SoFi have not changed. This is Stocks for Real. Take care.